Welcome to Daytona International Speedway and our media availability. And Matt Kenseth, 4 wins so far this season, 5th in points, last week's race winner. Just talk a little bit about your season thus far and being here at Daytona.
It's obviously been really good, so I'm happy to be. Turn your hearing aid up. Hold on, Mulhern's not happy. Check. Mike, do you hear me now? Mike, do you hear the mic? All right. Mike's smiling. I'm going to start over. You ready? All right. What was the question again? I'm just kidding. Yeah, the season's obviously been really great for us. I think it's been better than any of us could have imagined. So excited to be back here at Daytona. Obviously a special racetrack for everybody in stock car racing and really racing in general. Had a really strong car in the 500. I think we led the most laps and we're leading when we broke. So looking forward to being back here and hopefully we can be out front again, make it to the end, and if we are out front, make it then. Hopefully I can figure out how to do the right things to have another shot at winning.
Okay, we'll take questions for Matt. We'll start right here with Ed.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Matt, obviously maybe from our side, but the Gen 6 car in its debut here in February got kind of bland reviews. Then you go to Talladega, it provides quite a wild show. The evolution through now, yeah, it's back at Daytona, but it's a night race and it's a little more frantic race because it's 400 miles. Can you give us any sort of projection as to what kind of race? Might we be back to the Daytona 500 type running, or could it be some mix that we haven't seen yet out of the Gen 6 car, or how do you see it?
Well, I think you kind of hit it, in your first comments there. It was the first race of the Gen 6 car. Certainly you're going to learn. There's going to be an evolution of not just the setup stuff, but we're going to learn more about, drafting and where you want to be and where you don't want to be and that type of thing. So I thought Talladega was a totally different race than Daytona, which honestly really surprised me. I expected it to be exactly the same, and it was not at all. You had to do a lot of things a lot different. And I expect that it'll be a cross between Daytona and Talladega, probably more like Talladega. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why Talladega would have been different, other than just people learning more about the cars, getting the cars better, figuring out how to put them in different positions and situations, to make more passing and more side by side. So I'm not sure. In February the groove was right around the top, and you couldn't really do much different than that. And Talladega wasn't at all. It was actually it didn't seem like you wanted to be way up there. So I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see.
Just one little follow-up. Some people were saying after Talladega that it was because of the racetrack itself, more room to roam or move around, more distance for the cars to suck up. Do you think maybe the track itself is not? Did maybe we make too much a big deal about a little bit bigger racetrack? Is it? Would the size of Talladega have had anything to do with the wildness of it?
Yeah, I mean, the honest answer is I don't really know. I mean, I've been to Talladega before when we had some different rules packages, and Dale Jr. was leading the race one time. I remember, and we all ran around the top the whole time, and everybody's like, "Oh, they don't want to pass." Well, that wasn't it. Everybody wanted to pass, but when you pulled out to pass, everybody would pile back to the top, and you would just go to the back. So I don't really know, to be honest with you. I mean, I always think the racing at Daytona used to be, before you paved it, would be a lot more about handling, especially in July, than Talladega ever would be, and that's what kind of separated the races and made them different. I think since they paved Daytona, it's felt like the tracks are much more similar. Handling's not a big deal, and it's pretty much just about the draft and positioning and all that kind of stuff. So, to answer your question is still really, I don't know why it would be different. It doesn't feel that much different. I mean, the tracks feel different, but it doesn't. It feels like the same theories and everything should apply.
Okay, we'll go David, Allen, and Ben.
David Caravella, NASCAR.com. I have two as well. We talked after Talladega. You mentioned about how sometimes you second-guess the moves you make in restrictor plate races. Mm-hmm. What's your confidence level like coming here? I mean, given that you've won a bunch of plate races, but you've also perhaps in your mind left some on the table. Yeah,
I mean, my confidence level is high. I mean, I feel real good about it. We've, I've been really spoiled, honestly, the last year and a half, last 6 plate races. Our cars have just been unbelievable. We've been in front, I think, 5 out of the last 6 plate races, if I'm not mistaken, have ended in a green-white checkered, and I think 4 of them were probably leading. So it seems like when you run a while, it's just hard. When you do green and white checkers, you can sit and second guess it when it's over unless you win. But man, it's hard, and being a leader sometimes is even harder on them green and white checkers because there's people hanging back and there's people getting momentum, and you can only see so much around you. You can't tell. Like Talladega with David, when they got teamed up, there was no way to know 5 rows back that they were going 8 miles an hour faster than we all were. I mean, there's just no way to watch all that, and there's really no way to protect that or really to do anything about it. So it's tough, when you can run for a while and everybody's going basically the same speed, and they're getting little runs here or there that are 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour. I mean, that's a little bit easier to manage. But them green white checkers, especially some guys in the back, they just get monster runs sometimes, and that's hard to protect from.
And to follow that up, I mean, is it possible to learn from what you did or didn't do in one race and carry it over to another one, or is the situation just crazy every time out, and so it all kind of is a wash?
Yeah, I always try to learn, but they're always different. So I might get my races mixed up here, but we last year, we were fortunate. We won the 500, and then Talladega, we were leading on a green white checker, and we lost Talladega, and I can't remember which it was, but it was because they're saying, oh, you didn't wait for Greg, and Greg and I were teamed up the whole time, and I didn't wait enough for him, got singled out, and I can't remember who passed us and beat us. I think it was Brad and Kyle, and then we go back to Daytona, and I'm leading on a green white checker, and I slowed down to wait for Greg to let him push me. I kept slowing down. I couldn't get him attached back to me, and Tony passed us both, and I think he won the race. So, I mean, one way I did it once and lost another. That second time I did it the way I thought I should have done it the first time and lost too. So, I mean, I think you just got to not overthink it and just try to take your best guess where the momentum is and try to keep your car in the best spot you possibly can. I mean, you can't really control what everybody else is doing around you. You just got to try to pay attention and try to get yourself in what you feel like at the time is the best spot.
Okay, Alan, Ben, then Jenna.
Alan Cavana, NASCAR.com. We heard a lot of frustration on Jimmie Johnson's radio last week after that restart. How much can frustration affect performance, and can a driver really be his or her own worst enemy?
Well, I think every case and every driver and every situation is different. I mean, I think, over the last, I lose track of time, over the last month and a half, probably since Dover at least, I think Jimmie's been very frustrated with restarts. And I think, I think last weekend when I look at it, and obviously you're going to say I'm not objective because I was in the race, but I think he just didn't have good restarts. For whatever reason, his car wouldn't restart fast, and we've all had cars like that. Even when he was leading the race and he was a control car, the one time I started underneath him, I was still able to, stay even with him, get through the gears, and pass him through 1 and 2. And I thought he had the superior car, but just didn't take off real great on restarts. So I know that, he's had the fastest car there a couple times, Dover, and arguably probably had the fastest car last weekend and didn't get the win. And that's always really, really frustrating. I've been there a couple times this year. It's frustrating when you have something happen and you feel like you lead the race all day and you're in position and don't win.
Can you be your own worst enemy even after yourself? Something goes wrong?
Well, like I said, everybody's different. It's hard to say. It's hard to look at Jimmie and the 48 and that team and say that there's anything wrong with anything they do. I mean, they've been, I said it a few weeks ago when you guys were all asking about it. I mean, I think he's, when you look at what they've done, how can you argue they're not the best ever, with the numbers that they've put up since they've been doing it 8 or 9 years, however long it's been, I don't know. So it's really hard to pick anything apart about him as a driver or that as a program. I mean, they're pretty good. If you're going to have a chance to win a race or a championship, you always have to go through the 48.
Okay, next question, and go ahead, Ben.
Okay. Matt, Ben White with the Lexington NC Dispatch. Can you talk about Chicago? Is Chicago a good track for you? And then the second part of that is, what do you think the advantages are to starting the chase at Chicago?
Chicago in the past, maybe not last year. We had a shock fall off or something the year before. I think we had a problem. But in the past, before that, it's always been a really good track for me. It's always been one I've always really looked forward to going to. It's only about 3 hours away from where I grew up, so it kind of feels like a home track in a way. Got a lot of usually friends and family that come down for that race and all that. So I've always enjoyed the racetrack. We only race there once a year. But I really like the track. It's usually been a good place for us. As far as being the first race in the chase, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to put some thought on that. I don't think it really matters, when they necessarily come up. You gotta if the 10 tracks are the same 10 tracks, I don't know if it matters if you put them in a blender or not. You got to go to all 10 of them and all 10 of them pay exactly the same amount of points, and every single point is just as important as the next one.
All right, Jenna, Brian, Claire, and Megan.
Jennifer, AP. Matt, publicly, you handled the disappointment of the Daytona 500 very, very well. Were you the same privately, or did that one sting more so than maybe other defeats?
No, I was the same exactly privately. So Daytona, I can't remember which race it was. I guess maybe the 150s and maybe even the shootout as well. I felt like coming down here we were pretty strong. I felt like I had a chance to win both those races, and I didn't make the right moves and didn't get to win either one of them. And even the 150s, we helped Kyle win, but then I got shuffled out at the end and finished back farther. So I would have rather blown up leading Daytona than be leading on the white flag and made the wrong move and finished 10th. So I mean, I felt like the thing that was a really positive coming out of Daytona, being my first week with a new team, first race with a new team and all that, is I felt from a team standpoint, I felt like we did everything as good as we could possibly do. I thought the preparation was great, the pit stops, the strategy, the car speed, everything we did, I thought we did at a winning level. And, we just had a part break. So from that aspect, I had a lot of confidence going into the next week, and I felt really good about it. I mean, I was disappointed about the finish, sure, but I was really excited about what I felt like was in front of me, because it was my first week working with all those guys, and I could just see and feel the potential.
So piggybacking off that, the potential is there, and I guess some might say that maybe that was a fifth win that you could have had this season. You do have 4 in your first year with a new team. What is the limit for you this year? Do you have any idea what's out there for you?
It's been crazy. I mean, you could look back. If I go back to before Darlington, we could look back and say, yeah, there's a couple other races that I don't want to say you left them there, because circumstances happen. That's what racing is all about. But there's certainly a couple more that we could have won. But if you want to be fair and objective about it, Darlington, Kyle dominated the race and was going to win and had a problem, and we ended up capitalizing on that. We were in second, but we capitalized on that and won. Last weekend, although we could have raced with them, if we'd have had a perfect, we probably could have beat Jimmie, maybe could have beat Jimmie, but arguably he had the best car, and Jason made a great call at the end. We had a great restart, and we were able to win that race. So I think if you put yourself in position to win enough, I think you're going to lose some, but I think you'll win your share as well. I don't know what the limit is. I mean, I'd sit around and daydream and wish and think about things like this happening this season, but I'd never really realistically thought that before the halfway point we'd have 4 wins and be in running, leading all those laps and run as good as we have been. So I don't know where the limit is. I mean, I said, I guess, after Vegas and maybe Kansas, I felt like the sky was the limit with this team, and I really do. I mean, it's just it's a great group. Everything's going really good, and everybody's really focused on keeping it going good.
Okay, we'll go Claire, Megan, and Jeff.
Claire B. Langseers, XM NASCAR Radio. 2 quick things. One is, you tested this weekend. How much, because it rained a little bit, is the test worth it as opposed to how much it wore any of you guys out, because it was a quick turnaround? First question. I mean,
yeah, I thought the test was really worth it for us. I felt like even though we didn't get as much track time as we would have liked to have got with the weather and not being able to stay on Wednesday, but having to be down here this morning and all that, I still thought it was really worth it. It was our first team test, I guess, we used this year. Got to work a lot with Denny and Kyle. Felt like we've found some things that will hopefully help us going forward at hopefully there in Pocono and maybe Michigan, some of those tracks. So I felt like we gathered a lot of information, and it was definitely worth it.
and you were talking about how this is beyond your wildest dreams. When you first came to Joe Gibbs Racing, you were sort of nervous and afraid. You knew you made the right decision, but starting out at the beginning of the year, when did that all go away? I mean, do wins take that out? Did you know immediately after a week or 2 or a month? I mean, it seems like you just fit like a glove with Jason and over there.
Yeah, I don't know that it ever totally goes away. I mean, I think that in this sport in general, you always have to have that sense of urgency, and I don't think you can ever get too comfortable. Everybody can be replaced, and you have to perform. Each and every week. It's a really, what have you done for me lately sport, obviously. So I don't know that you ever get 100% comfortable in what you're doing. I think you have to stay hungry and always be focused on what's in front of you, not necessarily what's behind you. But certainly I've felt comfortable over there. They've done from the first time I walked in there. I mean, yeah, you're learning certain things, maybe a little nervous, but they've really made me feel comfortable and made me feel part of part of the team, part of the family, and you know, part of the program over there for sure.
Okay, next question, Megan.
Megan Levin, Flag to Flag. NASCAR is a sport full of tradition. Do you have a favorite NASCAR tradition or family tradition you look forward to?
Favorite NASCAR tradition. I guess probably kicking the year off of the Daytona 500. So I think test a little bit. When you come down for speed weeks, it's always I don't have the same thing we do every year necessarily, but coming down here and getting down here to kick the season off and driving through the tunnel and still realizing you're at Daytona and you get to run a Daytona 500 is always a really neat feeling and a cool tradition, way to start off the season.
Okay, final question. Because of time, we're not going to be able to get all of the questions. We'll take from Jeff.
I was here early.
I know
If
you
you would
were.
have been here early, we could have answered more questions.
I know.
Jeff Gluck
I
from
wouldn't
USA
expect
Today.
any less
I
from
think
you.
I'm that funny. Most people don't.
Go ahead,
Gluck
Jeff.
from USA Today. Carl, Kane, Hamlin, Boyer, Kurt, and Keselowski all are winless here. Why do you think that is?
Here?
Yeah.
Man, I guess I can just start with one of them. Kurt is a great plate racer. He always has been. So that surprises me that you say Kurt hasn't won here. I think that restrictor plate racing is just totally different. It's hard to even honestly really group it, with the other 32 races. I mean, it's just totally different. There's a lot that comes into play, a lot of circumstances that come into play. You got to have a fast car everywhere, but if you don't have a fast car here, there's absolutely nothing that you're going to do about it. I mean, everybody's wide open all the way around, so if your car's slow, what are you going to do about it? So, I think winning these races, there's a lot, I don't want to use the word luck, but there's a lot of circumstances that come into play to win one of these races than there would be at Charlotte or somewhere.
Matt, thank you very much for your time. You are very
That's
funny.
it?
That's it.
Did you only have one question, Gluck? So you're the first one that only had one question. Did you realize that? Well, no, she only had one question, too. Yeah, but Jenna had two. Mulhern couldn't hear me, so it felt like I was answering two. All right, see you guys. I got to leave now, I guess.